All right, hi everyone. My name is Daniel Castro, and I'm going to present our paper Discovering Picturesque Highlights from Egocentric Vacation Videos. This is work that I did with my collaborator Dr. Vinay Bidapura and Dr. Irfan Isa at the Computational Perception Laboratory at the Georgia Institute of Technology. So I'll jump right into the data set that we collected. So a few years ago, my coworker Vinay had the misfortune of going on vacation on a road trip across the United States. And throughout that, he collected data semi-random times whenever the camera had battery and things like that. And he was wearing it on his head. So he was wearing sort of like a GoPro. It was a contour cam at the time that was collecting both video and GPS data. So he collected 26 hours, a lot of which was just driving. And a lot of it was also outdoor and indoor, and that will come in relevant later. So this gives you kind of an idea, a heat map of where we have data points. It starts off in Atlanta, Georgia, goes all the way to the southern coast of California, all the way to San Diego. And one of the interesting parts of the data is that we collected it without knowing what we were going to do with it. It was sort of like, let's collect this data and then see what possible work we can do with it. And I mentioned that just so that you know that it wasn't necessarily biased to the project that we then collected and did. And so the process essentially started with, okay, can we pre-process this data and filter out a lot of the driving? Because, whenever you collect a lot of data in your vacation, you don't necessarily just want to see the boring video parts. You just want the highlights of it. And 26 hours is really hard to go through on your own. And so from that, we used the GPS location to filter that video. The way we did that was by looking at Yelp locations around that GPS point. And we valued both the number of locations and the rating of that location. And we did that in a way that if you go to the Grand Canyon and there's only one location, but it's 5 stars, that has similar weights to very poor, like 10 locations when you're in a city where maybe you still want to record that. So we valued both the number of locations and the rating in that location to filter out the videos. So that brought it down by 10 hours to 16 hours of video. And from there, we decided to do shot boundary detection on all those videos, so we had something more tractable to deal with. And that brought it down around 6 hours less, so down to 10 hours, because we filtered out any shot boundary that was less than 5 seconds, just because we felt that those were probably when you were transitioning and when you were looking from one location to another. So that's where that got cut off. From there, we wanted to score these shot boundaries to figure out which ones were the most picturesque, the most beautiful ones that you saw in your entire vacation. And so we broke that down into 3 different scores that I'll overview really high level right now. Those were color vibrancy, composition, and symmetry. For color vibrance, essentially what we did was that we looked at the research in color theory, and we saw the different colors that we value as human beings as something that's vibrant and beautiful. And we binned each of the colors in that image closest to the color that was valued. And therefore, we scored those colors independently, and that created an aggregate score for the color of that image. In addition to that, we looked at composition via the rule of thirds. We essentially took the video and broke it down into using a segmentation algorithm by Grunman et al. And found the segment that was closest to the rule of thirds point, in addition to being of a proper size, because one of the issues with the segmentation algorithm was that it would generate really small segments. So we valued both the size of the segment and how close it was, and we picked the best one as the score of that frame. And then lastly, we also did symmetry. These are 2 examples of symmetry in swamps in Louisiana and a fountain in Disneyland. And the idea behind that was, well, can we essentially compute SIF features for it and look for symmetrical points in the horizontal and the vertical axis to see if we could find if the image was symmetrical. Lastly, we figured out that once we had these shots, we were getting really beautiful shots, but Vinay was often tilting his head left to the right, and so that was a bit of an issue, right? Because you get images that are beautiful, but they're tilted. And so what we did for that was that we compared the average frame in that shot boundary, and we found the image that was closest to that average frame. And that ends up actually working out pretty well in terms of aligning the frame, and that's because on average we're looking straight. And so to give you an idea of what that looks like, I will play a quick video that we composed. Should be like 35 seconds. And so this is basically taking a 5-second window of video around the shot that we picked as the best shot. And so you can see that it gives you a pretty good composition of your entire vacation in a really short and quick manner. All right, that's that. Cool. So yeah, thank you.